I was working patrol that day, took a 911 call from a dispatch center that said I needed to respond to our local hospital where a woman was there and wanted to report that she'd been assaulted by her husband.
The neighbor had called the police on prior occasions. On this occasion, the neighbor came to the home, he saw her injuries, was very alarmed, and he took it upon himself to call an ambulance. And then it was the hospital who ended up calling the police because they immediately suspected abuse.
When I arrived at Regents Hospital, I spoke with Mrs. Thill, who was in a care unit at that time. She seemed to be in quite a bit of pain. She had sustained some pretty severe injuries to her legs. It appeared she'd been struck multiple times in the face. From there, I went to the house. We both walked up to the door, me and my partner, knocked on the front door and met Mr. Thill as he answered the door. He was pretty evasive when I started asking about what happened. I asked what had happened with his wife today. He claimed that she had fell and tripped over the cat.
The story that Marvin Thill was telling the responding officer just didn't match with the injuries and what Mrs. Thill had told the officer about what had happened.
Based on the injuries from his wife and based on the comments from the neighbor, I had enough to put him in custody, so at that time I told him he's under arrest. I assisted him as I walked him out to my squad car. He was able to use his cane. It did take several minutes to get out there. We actually had to pause about halfway between the house and my squad car to actually physically get him in there just because he was out of breath.
Sergeant Nicole Peterson and I went to the hospital about a day and a half after the incident occurred.
She was very bruised, head to toe. The bruising, had turned to dark coloring. At one point during the interview, she broke down crying and said that she was terribly afraid of her husband.
He picked up my walker and he slammed it against my leg. He kept hitting me and hitting me and hitting me. And then he took the walker and slammed it into my stomach. And then he started hitting me again and gashing my leg, hitting and hitting and hitting. And he said, "I'm gonna finish you off."
At that point, he switched over to using his fists and started punching her in the head. It just sounded horrific what she was describing.
She told them that on prior occasions when the police had come to their home, he had punished her for the fact that somebody had called and told them no one would ever believe what you say.
A lot of times, victims will lie to officers just to protect themselves from further abuse.
When a patrol officer goes into a situation where an older adult is there, and that older adult might be just sitting in the corner, not responsive, that's not normal aging. That's not what should be happening. Observe to see if they seem to be fearful. Observe for evidence of wounds. To see if they're able to interact with you or if they seem withdrawn and afraid.
A lot of times older people have a lot of bruises and they can say, yep, she bruises easy, she fell down.
We know that bruising that is on the head, neck, soles of the feet, buttocks, torso are highly suspicious related to possible abuse. Larger bruises greater than 5 centimeters or about 2.5 inches should also raise suspicion. Multiple bruises should raise suspicion. And we shouldn't overly accept the classic, well, he fell.
Elders can assault each other. The same abuse can happen if you're 85 or if you're 25.
The role of the victim advocate is imperative in these cases. We had an advocate who went to the hospital with us, who was there to talk to the victim about her safety concerns. She was very concerned that her husband would be able to find her in the care facility. The advocate in this case was able to help the victim get an order for protection, which further assisted in her safety. It was once she felt comfortable, once she felt safe, that she felt able to come forward with more information about what had been happening to her for a very long time. Mr. Thill was charged with assault on a vulnerable adult. He was convicted of that offense. We were able to keep Mr. Thill away from his wife and allow her to live a life free of violence. That was the best outcome we could have hoped for.